So PyCharm, it's an integrated development environment for Python, and you have also the potential help to visualize HTML files, CSS files, and a large list of files. So the difference to what we have seen previously with Jupyter, and there is one advantage here. It's the debugger, which is quite helpful. And I know that Jupyter has some debugging capabilities that I personally haven't used, and every time that I need to do something a bit more advanced, I move to PyCharm. So there is a question whether we are able to work with the maps in Plotly and Dash. Yes, as far as I'm concerned, you can, anything that you can do in Plotly, you should be able to visualize it in Dash. And we'll see that in a bit. But continuing with PyCharm, so if I start, in this case, I already have a project that I opened, and it's just a folder which contains a few files. And let's start with one of those files. I can see, for instance, this is a .py file. So I can see my Python file. I can see my functions. I can compress those functions. There is a bit of help in the sense that we can see also the color, some color help or highlighting for some of the reserved words or the reserved functionalities for Python. We can see also that there is some highlighting for the strings and so on. And this collapsing is also quite helpful. And within that file, for instance, I can go and explore the different functions that I have in that file. As you can see, I can navigate through the functions and so on. That's quite quick to navigate through the file. And I can hold also, as in PyCharm, I guess, as in Jupyter, multiple files in the same environment. The way it works, it's really you can have multiple environments of Python to work with your files. And I show you how to create an environment here. Yes. So there is someone mentioned that it looks very similar to Spider. I briefly used Spider in the past. My integrated development environment, or the one that I use, it's PyCharm, and I think there is a bit of a matter of preferences, but I think also you need to test performance. I know PyCharm is quite good and fast. Also sometimes I get frustrated when it tries to refresh the project structure. So how else can I say from PyCharm? Obviously not trying to sell PyCharm here. I'm just showing you some of the functionalities. PyCharm, it comes with a free version. You can get a professional version, but the free version has actually quite a large number of functionalities. So, but if you go to the web page, the company is called JetBrains. But if you go into the different options, there is the community version, which is the one that you can download for pure Python development. But the professional version has other functionalities. Right. So, in fact, one of the functionalities that I'm going to show you, it's from a pro version, which is a database access. But there are different ways in which you can access the database. And what else? Right. Let's dive into creating environments with PyCharm. So I'm going to go into the settings here. And there is in PyCharm, you have into the settings, you have I believe it's in the project. you have an interpreter. And this is very similar to what you will do in Anaconda, in the Anaconda Navigator, where you can have multiple interpreters. In this case, if I go to my interpreters, I have multiple, let's say, multiple environments of Python, where I install the libraries that I need to use for particular projects, right? So let's say we want to create a new interpreter. So I can add a new interpreter or a new environment, and let's call it, for the time being, let's put it somewhere else, visualization. I'm just going to create a folder that I will delete later on, because this is just to show you how to create a new environment. So inside this folder, I'm going to create a new environment based on my Python 3.7 installation. And so as you can see in the environment that I had before called visualization, I had quite a few packages installed. And those packages are the ones that I require to run the exercise that we're going to put together today. So what PyCharm is doing, it's running on the background some commands to create a whole new environment that is going to be completely empty. And I'll show you what I mean with completely empty. So in this case, this environment has only two libraries, pip and setup tools, right? So that's very lean, and it could be very useful if you're starting a project from scratch and you want to deploy that project with all your libraries. Let's say, for instance, if you're using containers, which is something that you may want to watch what libraries you want to put in the containers. But let's say in this case, I have that library. And if I go, let me create a new file. In this case, I can create several types of files. I can create a Jupyter notebook directly here. But I'm going to create just a Python file, just call it slpy. And the first thing that I'm going to do is let me verify that I'm actually using that environment. So if I check here, I have to switch to a new environment, which is visualization 2. Okay. And if I import pandas, well, let's import NumPy. And I want to create a new array. And let's call this, I'm going to create a temp array, which is a NumPy array of a simple list of 0, 1, and 2. So if I want to run that file, even if I run that test, well, nothing is happening here. I would have to do something like print, and then print temp underscore array. And as you can see, there is an autocompletion as well. Automatically, it's listing you all the variables that start with TEM. Very similar to Spider. I'm pretty sure that the Spider has an autocompletion as well. If I run that, yeah, it's printing. Now, the question is whether if it's using the environment that I want to use. In this case, I want to make sure that I use this environment, the new environment that I created. And let's run it again. And as you can see, there is no module name NumPy in this particular case. Okay, there is a comment here from hello. So Spider and PyCharm target different audiences, scientific programming versus development. So depending on project requirements, it should just be a matter of preference. JetBrains makes IDE for multiple languages. Projects are quite popular. Yes, thank you, Lo. And so when you meant scientific programming versus development, I guess the PyCharm, it's more targeted to development. Is that what you're saying? No, if you can turn off your microphone, we'll be glad to hear your thoughts here.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So basically, if you go on the webpage for spider.org, they focus specifically like R and MATLAB, and I'm by no means an expert, but it seems that they focus quite a bit on scientific programming. So pretty much what we're doing now. But if you want to start sort of branching out into the development world, then PyCharm tends to be the more popular option.
Right. Yes. But also PyCharm has a very strong support for NumPy, and I'll show you also. You can have a look at data frames. You can actually have a look at the plots inside PyCharm, like plots from Plotly or Matplotlib. So it's also getting quite powerful by itself as I would say for scientific programming, as you call it. But that's very well pointed. Thank you. I don't think that PyCharm it's a right tool, for instance, to work with R, and obviously it's not the right tool at all to work with MATLAB. But that's very good, very well pointed out. Thank you very much. So, right. So as you can see, now the difference is that I can work with different environments here. And it's in Jupyter, in Anaconda, you will be able to do the same. Probably in Jupyter notebooks as well, but you will have to do a bit, especially in Jupyter notebooks, you will have to do some more work with the console. Well, enough from this. And as I mentioned, if I go into the settings and if I go into the project interpreter, I only have a couple of libraries installed here. If I want to install pandas, the only thing that I need to do is go into the plus symbol and install pandas, select pandas, install the package. And that's going to download the package and install it. So it's eventually it will be here. And I think, oops, I should have actually installed NumPy, which is the one that we require to install. Let me actually see if we can stop. Okay, and let me go back and then just see if we can install just NumPy. But no, pandas will install more packages than just NumPy. Right, so I'm still installing, so that will take some time. It's but as it finishes, you should be able to see the package available here. It seems to have finished. Let's see again. There we go. We have NumPy, and so we can manage interactively the packages that are available for our projects, and we can switch between environments for different projects. Okay, so that's just one example how to manage your environments, create new environments, and also be able to switch and install libraries. So the other thing that it's quite powerful, it's that you can manage your Git repository here. So this is directly connected to a PEG Python, repository. So if I go into the into my Git, let's see, in version control, and if I show you, I can see, for instance, what repositories I have. And in this case, if you can see that this is connected to the Orcaho PEG Python repository, it was automatically detected just by opening that folder it checks what is the Git repository that that is associated to this folder, and you can start to do things like very quickly. I can do things like commits, add files to repositories. So I can do git add, right? So I added this file to the repository, and if I show, let's go to Orca Hub. At the moment, this is just doing the local repository, but let's have a look at what's happening in Orca Hub. And let's have a look at PG Python. So I have all these folders, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 folders. And as you can see, this file has a different color, indicating that that file has been added to the repository, to the Git repository. I can also do go again to Git and then commit the file. And so in this case, I have this option here, and I can put a message. This is just uploading a file to illustrate Git and GitHub support. Illustrate Git and GitHub support from PyCharm. So this is all my local repository. So I can commit to my local Git repository. But if I want to push it, and at the moment, as you can see in here, there is nothing going on. There is the visualization folder is not there. But if I want to push that file, I can go into, let's say, again, operations. I can go into Git again, and I can do push. And let's see if that works. So it's doing an operation there. Okay, that file was pushed. And actually, something that we didn't test. Let's see if this runs. Yeah, now you can see that it's running. It's running because I actually installed NumPy in that folder. And the other thing that we can check in the cloud, in GitHub, you can see that the file, it's been pushed 1 minute ago. We can see the file here with the messages uploading a file to illustrate Git and GitHub support from PyCharm. So it's quite strong, the support for GitHub integration as well. Now, going back to what the agenda. So we created a project in PyCharm. Well, in fact, we opened a project in PyCharm, created a project in PyCharm. It's just opening up. You can open a folder and create a new folder there and start adding your new files there. So I show you how to manage libraries and environments. Let's see some of the database functionalities in PyCharm, because we will need that later on. So as I illustrated on the case from OpenSim simulator, we store some data in a database, and what we want is to visualize that later on. So one of the functionalities of PyCharm, I believe, it's to go into a database functionality, and in this case, data source. I can map my Postgres database, and I know that the database in this case if I'm not wrong, it's called Sim Results Adolfo. because Adolfo was the one that gave me these results. Let me see if that works. Yep. So now I can see the database, I can see the schemas, and I can see the tables. And I believe what we would like to do, it's some of these tables, I don't remember exactly. I have the simulation results. And I believe, let me check. I think it's in master tree. And I can have a look at that database. So it's accessing the database. And I can have a look at all some of the simulation results, the date, the name, and so on. And I'm not quite sure where I have the results in itself, in which table. These are some of the final results of a CPU time, total port volume, and so on the database. And this third table, I believe this is the one that contains the values itself, all the values from the simulation results for every quantity that we are going to parse. So I have the definition table ID, which is related to a simulation file. I have here the result that I want to get for every simulation file. And we just have to play a bit with the data to get it back into Python. So if you by any chance struggle to get access to a database from PyCharm, remember that you can install pgadmin. And in pgadmin, you have pretty much all the functionalities that you will have on PyCharm in terms of accessing the database. In fact, pgadmin is much more powerful than PyCharm in terms of even managing access and managing privileges to the database. So that while that is opening, I would like to ask you if you have any questions so far with regards to PyCharm. Right. So one of the things that, okay, this is pgadmin opening now. And probably the last thing that I'm going to mention about PyCharm, and you will see that as a benefit as I develop this case. Let me open. So these are my databases, and as you can see, these are the simulation results from OpenSim that Adolfo gave to me on the database. So there you have it, and on the schema, I can go into the tables and do pretty much the same that I was showing you before. For instance, if I see the master tree table with the simulation, with some of the simulation results, I can open the table. And you can see it's the same table that I was showing you in PyCharm. Obviously, in PyCharm, there's a bit of a shortcut on visualizing it directly here. There is something more that I want to mention before we move on to the actual exercise, which is the debugger here. So as you can see here, the other thing that you could do with, or the other powerful functionality that you can use in PyCharm is a debugger. So, and as you can see, I can put this is what is called a breakpoint. Oops, I have low disk space. We'll see in a bit. This is what I call a breakpoint. And if I open a breakpoint and as you can see, I can run the file or I can debug the file. So if I run the debugger, now the file is not run completely, it should stop there. And as it stops there, I can explore and let's say inspect that particular variable as it's actually as it is on the memory. So in fact, I can visualize it inside PyCharm, and I can see what is that object in detail. Right, so let me carry on running. So I'm going to click here to carry on running. And that's it. Let me close a few things here. I'm running out of memory on my machine. Right. So let's see how that goes. So now I'm going to create going back to the plan. I'm going to start creating this this dashboard. So I've already discussed the sensitivities that we have performed. We explored already the functionalities in PyCharm. Now let's have a look at the dashboard, how we're going to create the dashboard. So I'm going to close this file. And what I'm going to do here, I have already a dummy dashboard that I was starting here, but that's just a small file. So I'm going to create a new dashboard for the session. So this it's going to be a .py file. You don't need to call it .py. It will automatically be labeled as a .py file because I select that it's a Python file. And I'm not going to add it yet to the Git repository, but I will do it at the end. I'm using there is a question here, what type of database you have? It's yes, it's a SQL database. I use a Postgres SQL database. Now, empty file. And the first thing that you will notice is I would like to run this file. And that's just an empty file. But let me select the environment. Once I click run here, right click on the file, run simulation, run that file. I have all the options to edit the configuration. And in this case, I want to go back to the other configuration where I have all the visualization. I want to go back to the Python 3.7 visualization. And remember that this has all the libraries needed to, or at least all the libraries that I require to run this this exercise.